Hey everybody, this is Tao at the Forge, and today we are back with some Masters 25 spoilers. So hold on to your seats, we're going to get into it right away. Now before I begin, let me just remind you, I just started Patreon, so if you are willing and able to help me, I'd really appreciate any help I can get in growing the channel. So I'll put a link in the description. There's no pressure, but if you're interested, it's there for you. Alright, so let's take a look at these spoilers. So the first one is Ghost Ship. That looks like it's from the dark. It is a flying 2/4 for 4 and has 3 blue to regenerate Ghost Ship. It's a little blurry, but it looks like it's an uncommon or maybe a common, so it's probably uncommon. Yeah, I'd say it's a decent pick. Anything flying in draft is good. I don't know if people are going to be like the outside value of this is going to be ridiculous, but I doubt it, but it's pretty good. Diabolic Edict is 1 in a black for target player sacrifices a creature. That is actually a decent card. Now, all removal is good, but especially if people are playing like Bogles or something like that, these Edict cards are actually pretty good. And it looks like it's a common, so that means that it might be better. If it is a common, it'll be great in Pauper, because Pauper Bogles just sucks. Right, so I have Pauper Bogles actually, but it's rough to deal with because they've got some really great enchantments. Anyways, so you got Urg Raiders is 1 in a black for a 2/3 human warrior. At the beginning of your end step, if Urg Raiders didn't attack this turn, Urg Raiders deals 2 damage to you unless it came under your control this turn. Okay, yeah, so unless it has summoning sickness. So basically you have to attack every turn that it can, otherwise it does 2 damage for you. To you. I mean, that's pretty good, and well, really, when you're getting a 2/3 for 3, that's not really a bad downside. Like when we talk about what makes a good creature, we talk about mana efficiency. So when you're paying 2 mana, you ideally want to have a 2/2. So when you're getting a 2/3, it has to have a downside to it. And in this step, in this case, it means that you just have to attack with it all the time. But seeing it as it has a big butt, if you get it out on the curve, it's going to be able to trade or square off with any other 2/2 that would come out. And so I'd say that it's a decent one to throw in there if you have it. Okay, so Plague Winds is asymmetrical board wipe. Now, asymmetrical board wipes are awful for your opponent. Basically, it's destroy all creatures you don't control and they can't be regenerated. So it's like a Wrath of God, except only on your opponents. Now, the reason that's really awful, of course, that's almost like game ending, but it costs 7 and 2 black, so 9 mana total. I'd say, especially in draft, I don't know. I would say that that's not even playable, right? Like that's really harsh. I wouldn't draft that. But I don't know. Maybe it's used somewhere in some other legacy deck, or maybe in Commander. I don't know. I can imagine even in Commander, especially, people would probably be kind of upset if you played it. So maybe that's a good reason to put it in. All right, so we have Pernicious Deed. It's 1 a green and a black. So for X, sacrifice Pernicious Deed. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantments with converted mana cost X or less. Yeah, okay, so destroying all enchantments is, that's again pretty decent. I'd say it's probably a sideboard. Oh no, it's destroying all the creatures with that mana cost is pretty good. So not sideboard card. That's almost like certainly main deck if you can get it in there. Triskaidekaphobia. I actually think Triskaidekaphobia is awesome. It's a great idea. It's really cool. Basically, it's fear of the number 13. And if you look at the artwork, it's cool too. There's so many instances of the number 13. I actually wouldn't mind getting a blown up picture of this, like a print of this, but my only problem with this is it's really hard to get to this 13 life, especially when people have a lot of things like in Modern where you can play fetch lands and stuff like that, so that you put them to 13, they just go down to 12, or against life gain or other things like that. So it's hard to get to 13 life. I don't know if anybody has made a consistent Triskaidekaphobia deck. I've tried. and it's really hard. Like, I actually tried on the channel to put one together, and in testing it was just super hard to consistently get people to 13. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool card and a cool idea. I just don't know how competitive it actually is. And you know, going from Shadows over Innistrad, I think there's like maybe better cards that you could have picked. Maybe like, I don't know, like Gisela the Broken Blade. That would have been better. Okay, anyways, Totally Lost is a 4 mana and a blue. Put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. Yeah, I don't know. It's an unsummon effect. It can do any permanent, so even lands, but I don't know. 5 mana is really harsh for it. Now, it has like a weird Mike Wazowski on the card, so I mean, okay, great. Notion Thief is a 2, a blue and a black for a 3/1 with Flash Human Rogue. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one he or she draws in each of her draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. Now, that actually, I just wonder, does that work with that Wheel of Time guy? So there could be a decent combo there, wherever this is. It depends what that, is that Mages of the Wheel or something like that? Now, if they say draw that many cards, then that would be an awesome combo. Where is he here? Let's just take a quick look here, and I'll get back to the other spoilers in a moment. Of course, it's going to be like way at the end. Okay, Lightning Bolt, Counterspell, blah blah blah, sure. Okay. Mages of the Wheel. Yeah, sacrifice Mages of the Wheel. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. Yeah, so if you have Notion Thief and you make everyone discard their hands, then what the heck just happened here? Oh, okay, just went back to that page. Okay, good. So if you make everyone discard their hands and then try and draw that many cards, Notion Thief will make it so that they can't actually draw those cards. So, and it only works on the opponent. So then that would mean that you can actually draw the cards, right? So it's the only problem is in this you have to be playing 3 colors to get that off. So you need a blue, black, and red. But if you can pull that off, that would be pretty devastating. You basically wipe everyone's hands out. They can't draw any cards. Basically, it's like what's that band commander? Oh man, I hate it when I forget their names. Anyways, it's a commander that was recently banned that does almost the same thing. So anyways, Stanca. All right, so double G's. How do you pronounce that? Stanca. Alright, so he's a human warrior. When Stanca enters the battlefield, create a legendary 3/1 red and green human warrior creature token named Stanca Twin. Exile that token when Stang leaves the battlefield. Sacrifice Stang when that token leaves the battlefield. I hate this name, Stang. Like, I don't know. I think it could grow on you. I think like if I played this, I would probably actually just say his name all the time. And I tried and use it in puns. Be like, every time you attacked, you'd be like, man, that probably Stang, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that'd be too much. But, okay. Accumulated Knowledge. I like this card. Draw a card for 1 in blue. That's it. Good. Alright, but then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Accumulated Knowledge in all graveyards, and it's a common. So meaning this, you're going to probably see this in Pauper, right? And it's likely in a draft that other people will have this as well. So I think this is a good pick. You know, it'll be a decent one to have in there. So I think that's a pretty sweet card. Kindle. Draw is 1 in a blue. Kindle deals X damage to target creature or player, then X, where X is 2 plus the number of cards in Kindle in all graveyards. So again, this is kind of like a Magma Jet without the scry, of course, but then it just gets better like the more you have. So I would definitely consider putting this in, right? So the first time you cast it is where you get 2, right? And then does X damage to target creature, where X is 2 plus the number of cards. Yeah, then the next time it's 3, and then the next time it's 4, and the next time would be 5. So yeah, I would say that's no, that's actually pretty good. Right, Achroma Angel of Wrath, of course, being 5 and 3 white for 8 mana 6/6 with flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black and from red is going to be awesome. But the question is, can you really get a card like that out? Right, so I mean, these cards are really kind of seductive for people when you're looking at drafting, but can you actually get to the point of 8 mana? Like, this means that at the very earliest you're going to get this on turn 8, right? You know, and I haven't seen really any ramp, except for, well, one's coming up, but I haven't really seen too much ramp, and so it might be hard to get that out. All right, Brion Stout Arm. This actually reminds me, okay, so from Lorwyn, I thought it might be from an earlier set, but I remember, like, and I kind of heard this, that when they first were making Magic, they had like the Aiden Oakenshield and stuff like that, and those are just like actual like D&D characters that the player or the guys who made Magic actually were playing, and they decided to put them into Magic. That's actually pretty sweet. So this kind of reminds me of this, like Brion Stout Arm. It sounds like a D&D character. So it's a giant warrior with it's a 2 mana red white for 4, so 4/4 for 4, which is good, with lifelink. That's good. Red and tap, sacrifice another creature. Brion Stout Arm deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to target player. Okay. There might be ways you could abuse that, like if you could temporarily switch a creature's power and toughness on a defender and then sacrifice it and like pound your opponent for a ton. Yeah, but I don't know, a 4/4 for 4 is still good, especially with lifelink, so you know, at the very least you get in with it and, you know, get 4 life off of it. So yeah, that's a really good card. I can't see it being playable, and I don't see people playing it in Modern or anything like that. Maybe it's not Modern. No, it's Lorwyn, so it should be Modern legal. So, well, anyways, it's a good card, but I can't really see it being like a Modern staple. It's probably not worth a ton. But anyway, Simian Spirit Guide, awesome card. A lot of people hate it because they think it's unfair. It's funny that they have Simian Spirit Guide, but no Elvish Spirit Guide, so maybe that'll be coming out. Anyways, exile a Simian Spirit Guide from your hand, adds 1 mana to your mana pool. Almost nobody casts this as a creature. People just always use it to kind of surprise their opponent by having an extra mana available. Ancient Stirrings. This is so a Simian Spirit Guide is the ramp that I was talking about earlier. Ancient Stirrings is also a form of ramp. So look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a colorless card from among them and put it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it's not really ramping in that you get extra lands off of it, but it's a way of kind of finding extra land if you need it. Most of the time people aren't really looking for lands unless you're playing Tron, but usually people are finding like artifacts that they need, like ensnaring bridges or Lanterns of Insight or things like that. So it's a great card. Yeah, I can't complain about it being in there. Okay, so Renewed Faith, 3 mana, you gain 6 life, and it has cycling. When you cycle Renewed Faith, you may gain 2 life. Alright, so yeah, it'll keep you in the game, but it's not going to win anything for you. Cloud Shift. Cloud Shift is awesome, especially if you got creatures with great ETB triggers. So, but it's also a good way to just kind of keep your creatures alive. So anyone uses their targeted removal on your creature, you can Cloud Shift it, and and basically exile and get it away, and then put it back into the battlefield right away. You can really use this to abuse like a lot of ETP triggers a lot. So that's actually a decent pick too, and it's a common, so yeah, pretty good. Now Cloud Blazer, flying. Whenever Cloud Blazer enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards for 5 mana. So gaining 2 life, drawing 2 cards is awesome, and you get a 2/2 flyer. So I'd say that's an awesome pick, especially if you Cloud Shift that, then gain 2 more life and draw 2 more cards, and great. So Sada, Hedron Grinder. This one's hard to read. I actually have this card. It's built in one of the Commander's pre-made sets. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets Sada, Hedron Grinder. Oh hell. So Zada, Hedron Grinder. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, Hedron Grinder, copy that spell for each other creature you control that the spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. So, like, if you were to do like a Temur Battle Rage on him, then you can copy it for every other creature you control, and basically that's kind of broken, actually. That's like a finisher for sure. So, all right, well, I would pick that for sure if I was playing red. All right, Rest in Peace is classic white. When Rest in Peace enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So that's just massive graveyard hate. The problem is I don't really see how it would be useful in this set so far. Like, I mean, well, I guess there's some things like the accumulated knowledge and Kindle, but I don't really see any reanimator stuff. So like maybe there is, like, that I just forgot about or whatever. But I mean, it's a good card to have for sure. But I like when you're talking, well, I guess I'll talk more about that later. So Hell's Caretaker is 3 and a black. Sacrifice a creature, return target creature card from your graveyard. Oh, there you go. I was just gonna say there's like almost no graveyard recursion, but there you go. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only during your upkeep. That's kind of narrow, but sure. Right, so yeah, that could be good. And you don't, the creature you sacrifice doesn't have to be Hell's Caretaker, so you can do this over and over again. Yeah, I'd take it, especially if you can get like some tokens out like that and sacrifice a token and get like a real creature back, especially if it creates tokens or has ETB triggers. Then yeah, I would take it. Okay, let's go next page. Mystic Snake. I have actually had someone use Mystic Snake on me and basically put like repeatedly cloud shift it. I think they had like cloud shift under Isochron Scepter, and then every time they would just keep flashing it in and bouncing it and then using it to counter every single one of my spells. I forget exactly the deck that was used, but I remember it was super irritating. Yeah, I mean, if you can use that, and like especially, again, you're kind of thinking you have to go 3 colors to do that, but Mystic Snake, like, don't underestimate it. It's a 3/2 for 4 or 2/2 for 4 with flash, and it's a counter on a stick, so it is actually a good card. So Laquatus' Champion, 4 and 2 black, so 6 mana, 6/3. When Laquatus' Champion enters the battlefield, target player loses 6 life. Okay, and when they leave the battlefield, that target gains 6 life. Alright, regenerate Laquatus' Champion. Well, 6 mana, 6/3 is just kind of meh, but it could be a good finisher, right? So, like, you gotta think, at the 6 mana level, this is like turn 6 at the earliest, you're basically, you know, almost like at the end of the game, like for a lot of people. So 6 mana could be just a finisher that just like destroys your opponent. So I'd say that's a good card, and getting it to be able to regenerate is nice too. So I'd take it. Elvish Piper. Elvish Piper is a great card. It doesn't really matter. So 4 mana, 1/1. You're not going to really ever attack with this. But with green and tap, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That is extremely broken. So remember, like all those other creatures, like where was it? Chroma. Right, a Chroma Angel of Wrath. Well, you can just put her onto the battlefield. So if you have this in your hand and you're playing green-white, like Selesnya colors, which seem to be pretty strong in here. Okay, so then you can just go get your Elvish Piper and put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield for 1 green. So this, you can get that on a turn 4. This was almost like, if you get this in your draft, and assuming it's not on like your 3rd pack or something like that, this is almost like a must pick, right? Especially if you've got like these other big creatures. People will generally ignore the huge creatures because they're not going to be able to like get them out. The only problem with it is that if you don't end up with your Elvish Piper, or someone has a way of removing it, then you're kind of in trouble, right? So Pact of Negation. I recently lost a Pact of Negation in a battle that I was doing because a person had played it with Hive Mind, right? So opponent had a hive mind out and then played a pact of negation on their own spell, forced me to copy the pact of negation, and then I couldn't I couldn't like counter it. Well, I had to counter their pact of negation, so the pact of negation didn't happen, right? And then I couldn't pay the mana cost, and I ended up dying because I was in the wrong colors too. I ended up losing the game. So that was very clever. I give them props for that. You know, very, very clever to do that. So kind of cool. Now, the game was kind of protracted. I was playing, I think, the Sleeper Agent deck at the time, so it's kind of a longer game. But against any fast deck, I think that strategy would probably lose, but still, it is clever. I like those types of homebrews and stuff. So, okay, Luminarch Ascension. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if you didn't lose life this turn, you may put a quest counter on Luminarch Ascension. Create a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if Luminarch Ascension has 4 or more quest counters on it. So that's cool. But I wonder if they're going to have the other Ascensions, like the Blood Chief Ascension or things like that. So we'll see. Is it Chemister? Okay, so a 3 mana 1/3 with haste. Exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and then for 2 mana you can sacrifice it and cast all of them again without paying their mana cost. So that's actually pretty good. A good way of recycling your cards. The only problem is that as a 1/3 dies to lightning bolt, so and fatal push. Oh no, you could die to fatal push because depending on the situation. So it could be a little fragile to do that. But I mean, it doesn't hurt like to try and get it out. And you can always just leave him up, and then like when someone targets him, then you could like hold up the mana and sacrifice it. So this is actually a great pick too. I would say I would take it. Okay, so Fortune Thief. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. That's pretty decent, but the only problem is that it's 5 mana. Now, the thing is, you're never going to play it just for 5 mana. You're going to play it for 3 as its morph, and then morph at the last moment and try and surprise your opponent, right? So, yeah, that's okay. I wouldn't, like, this wouldn't be my first pick, but it might be like an interesting combat trick, like in bread. So your bombs, it's not a bomb, it's not removal, it's not really evasion. I would put it in like the A level, so like kind of the aggro type thing. I would say that's where I'd stick that. It's not dirt, but you know, it wouldn't be like a huge, like a first pick for me. Coalition Relic. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Put a charge counter on Coalition Relic. Okay, so 2 different things. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, remove all charge counters from Coalition Relic. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for each charge counter removed this way. That's kind of interesting. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, remove all charge counters. So how does this work? So I put a charge counter on it, and then in my pre-combat main phase, then I add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for each charge counter removed this way. So, I mean, it only ever has 1 charge counter on it, unless you have a way of doubling it. I guess this would go with the snake, the Winding Constrictor or something like that, so you can get more than 1. I don't know, like, is this actually, I don't know, like, it seems like it could be good in some, like, let me know if you know where this is used or how it's used. Put that in the comments. I actually don't know how this is used. It seems like it should be better than what I think, but I don't know. Kind of weird because you have to remove all the charge counters from it. So yeah, how are people using this? All right, Corsair of Crewfix is the last one for today because we covered Watch Wolf and Spike Shot Goblin and Exclude last time. Corsair of Crewfix is a really strong green card, right? So 1 and 2 green. Play with the top card of your library revealed. Yeah, so what? Your opponents can see what you're drawing, unless they're playing Lantern Control, which they're not in this set probably. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. That's the actual most important thing. And like, yeah, you get the 1 life gain off of it, but there's so many things that make this card good. Okay, so it's a 3 mana 2/4, so it's got a pretty big butt. It doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. It's hard to remove. You get a life every time a land enters the battlefield. But more than that, you can play lands off the top of your library. So like, some people don't really get why that's a big deal. Because let's say I've got like a few lands, like 2 lands or something in my hand, but I see a land on top of my library. right? So what I can do is I can just play that, leave the two cards in the two lands in my hand, right? So my opponent now thinks that, you know, maybe I've got like a counter or something like some removal or something that I'm holding up, so they don't know what I have in my hand, that those are just two lands, right? But what it does, it helps to filter my deck, right? It helps to thin the library so that you're actually drawing more towards your action cards and not, and not just drawing lands all the time, right? So that's why it's such a great card, right? So I mean, yeah, Corsair Crufix is when I first got it, I was like, I cracked them. I think they were in Theros. I was like, what's the big deal? And then you see them in action, you're like, oh my goodness, this is like actually a really, really good card. And it counts as an enchantment, so if you were to play it with Luminarch Ascension, wherever that is, I was actually on the other page there. So if you were to play it with Luminarch Ascension, right, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, but what is it here? You can, oh, never mind. I thought it was something else. So, anyways, those are the spoilers for today. If you happen to know what Coalition Relic is about, let me put that in the comments. I just want to say, like, there's some value here. Like, I think Pact of Negation is worth something. Some of these things are, Elvish Piper is worth something. Mystic Snake and like Luminarch Ascension is probably worth a few bucks. Probably Corsair Crufix as well. I don't know about the rest as far as value goes. I imagine most of these are like 25-cent cards or something like that. Yeah, the Simian Spirit Guide's not, and nor there's Ancient Stirrings. Cloud Shift's a great card, but it's common. So there's not a ton of value in this one, with this release. But my main concern still stands from the last one, is that I'm not seeing a ton of synergies. Right? They got some really good stuff and interesting stuff, and some like classical stuff that people kind of know from Magic the Gathering. But I don't see like a ton of synergy here. Like there's not like any like constant theme. So I don't know how this is going to draft. I mean, if you're looking for cards for your cube, right, this is great, right? Like, because there's a lot of great cards there, and then you can mix it with other cards you have and make it better, right? Like, so you can add them and get those cards you need. Or if you're wanting to just look for some staples, then sure, like there's a lot of staples in here too. I just don't know like how it will draft. I'd be interested to see, like, maybe it's going to turn out to be awesome. I'm on the fence. I'm not saying it's going to suck. I'm not saying it's going to be amazing. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's going to be awesome? Right? Put that in the comments too. Like, is it going to be awesome? Do you think it'll be just kind of meh? Like, do you think people are going to be rushing out to buy this? I think they will be, mainly because there's a lot of value cards like Imperial Recruiter in there, stuff like that. Yeah, but let me know what you think. Is it going to be good to draft? That's a real key there. Anyways, that's it for today. This is Tao at the Forge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. To join an amazing Magic the Gathering community, check out kitchentablemtg.com.